G'day guys and welcome back to another expat interview. In this video I'm going to be talking to Alex from France. That's a bit different, right? And most of the people I've been speaking to are from the US, but today we actually got someone from Europe. So Alex is going to be talking us through his journey, which started way back in 2008 when he arrived in Bogota to do some volunteer work. And after that he came back and forth to Colombia before deciding to move here in 2017, where he's been here ever since. So let's get into it. All right, Alex, thanks for being on the show today, mate. Your journey in Colombia, well, in Medellin began in 2017, but actually it started a lot before that. Can you just tell us how it all got started and what made you, first of all, come to Colombia?
So in 2008, I was a volunteer for a nonprofit organization in Bogota. The organization worked on risk reduction with homeless people and just drug abuse as a general topic.
How old were you at this stage?
I think I was 22.
Had you heard much about Colombia before or not really?
I studied sociology and education, and I had a French Colombian friend who had worked with that organization and put me in touch. And I actually lived with a friend of her father's while I was in Bogota. So that's kind of how the connection was. I was really interested in Latin America. My grandfather was Cuban, and I had been a volunteer in Peru 2 years before that. So yeah, I just wanted to get some firsthand experience with social work in a Latin American context.
Coming over as a 22-year-old to Colombia in 2008, it wasn't really that established as it is now. Was that a bit daunting, or did they have it really well organized for you?
So it wasn't the organization. It was really through my friend's contact, and I stayed with her father's friend. But even then, even though I had a place to land and I trusted the contact, it's true, the context was very different in 2008. Very, very few foreigners compared to now, definitely. And even the infrastructure, even though sometimes now it's still not at the same level as some other countries, but it's gone a long way. I mean, arriving at El Dorado airport in Bogota it really felt like a small airport from, the 80s. And also this was, kind of the beginning of internet here, even though it already existed. We didn't have smartphones and I didn't know what the person who was going to pick me up looked like. So yeah, there was a little bit of an adventure that came along with this experience, but no, it all worked out very well.
Great. So you came in 2008, you did some volunteer work, then a long time passed, and then you came back in 2017. Why?
So I came back actually a few times between the two, just on a visit, because the first time I had met my ex, and so we were kind of back and forth. And then in 2017 I came back because I wanted to start my own organization. I had been working in the social sector and on educational projects for several years, and I worked on developing a social entrepreneurship program while I was working in Guatemala. That really made me want to start my own and see if I could kind of be a social entrepreneur myself. So that's what brought me back.
So you came here 2017 and you started a foundation on your own?
Yeah. So, and the reason why I also picked Colombia, obviously I already knew it and I knew people here. So that was kind of a good starting point, but also it was after the peace treaty was signed. In 2016, the government signed a peace treaty with the FARC, which was the main guerrilla group here in Colombia. So the whole country really had very high hopes that the civil war or the armed conflict, as they call it here, would be ending. And there's been a lot of progress, also some step backs. But yeah, so the idea for me was that a lot of different groups, population groups, would need to reinvent themselves and reintegrate society and the economy. And so my experience and my training model in social entrepreneurship was a perfect way for these people to start something on their own and generate positive impact through their projects. So yeah, I came and did that.
Okay, awesome. And how's that going now?
It's up and down. It's hard. It's the social sector. It's a complicated context. The political context in Colombia is also a little unstable, and that affects funding. So it would be a lie to say it's always easy, but we've done some really cool projects. We've worked with many displaced women, also youth in some rougher areas of the city. Even had the opportunity to work on some projects outside of the city, like on the Caribbean coast. So yeah, as long as you understand that you can work on your personal level, one group at a time, then you're good. If your expectations are too high, then you can get frustrated.
I guess it's more like running a business here, right? Everything's
I guess so.
slower, it's more difficult. You just got to get used to the pace and adapt and adjust, or you're going to be very frustrated, which you probably were
Yeah.
a lot in the early days. And speaking about starting a business, you actually did start a business here. Do you want to tell us a bit about that? And while you explain this, I'm actually going to run some video in the background that shows your apartment. Tell me about that. That was a kind of an interesting journey here.
When I decided to move here and start my organization, I obviously also needed a place to live and to work. And so with the help of my father, we decided to acquire this apartment, which was an old apartment, but with a lot of potential. Huge, great location, great view. And we remodeled it and it became where I live, where my organization functions from. And it's also a way for me to make some income while living here for free, because I rent out 2 of the 3 rooms on Airbnb. You know, obviously there's a little work that comes in with it, especially at the beginning of the remodeling, but it worked out. It's been a very popular place for people to stay. I don't know if you've seen my my Airbnb profile, but I've been a super host almost right from the beginning. Always 5 stars, great comments, and it's been fun. You know, for the most part, guests have been great people to meet. So yeah, it's worked out.
Nice. And do you think as an experience overall, the whole running the Airbnb thing has been a good one?
It has, because I've been able to live in a bigger place than I would have normally, and not have to worry about monthly income when we didn't have projects with the organization. Plus, the perks of meeting different people and having space for family or friends. So I think for me it's been a good setup.
By the way, guys, Alex is actually in the process of leaving Medellin right now. He's going to Mexico. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video, but he's actually selling his apartment. So if anyone watching this is interested in that, maybe buying it and running it as a rental property, or even living there, then just click the link in the description, fill out your details, and we'll be in touch to give you some more details about that. Right, Alex?
Yep, perfect. Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, no worries at all. Another big reason why your time in Medellin has been so great, and that is your girlfriend. What's her name? Can we mention her name on?
Sure. Her name is Karen.
Karen, okay. Tell me about Karen.
She's originally from Cucuta, which, if viewers don't know, is a city near the Venezuelan border. She came here to Medellin to study 17 years ago, and stayed and continued working with the National University. And now she's gonna be doing a PhD, and that's the reason why we're going to Mexico, and one of the reasons.
So how did you guys meet, actually?
Yeah, we met on Tinder, which I know is not perceived as the most romantic way to meet, but I think it's a very commonly used tool now, and it's like all tools, it depends how you use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because now basically Tinder is almost like avoid at all costs in Medellin because all the crazy stuff that was going on. When did you guys meet? What year was this?
That was 2019.
Back then, was all this kind of drugging and robbing and stuff happening?
Probably a lot less than now. Obviously I haven't used it in a long time, so I'm not sure what it's like now, but you had to filter a little bit the profiles you were seeing there, but there were definitely plenty of normal, well-intentioned people out there as well.
And one big pain point that I see about people who come here, actually not single guys looking to play around, but actually people looking for long-term relationships. Obviously like you, 2019 you met, so you've been together 6 years, obviously long-term relationship, building a life together, right? She seems like a very intelligent, well put together woman. She's studying a PhD. Guys really struggle to find women like that here. Very easy to get dates, but finding a solid one, next to impossible it seems for many foreigners. Can you maybe give us some insight on what you did or what people could do differently to maybe have the same results as you?
I think there's a few factors. One is language. I think if you want to understand the other, whoever the other is, you're going to want to be able to communicate as well as possible. You're also going to want to have some time. If you're in a rush, and if you're just here for a month or so, or obviously you're not giving yourself the best chances to get to know someone really well. Another thing I think is there's a lot of people in the city that are dating. At some point, if you're always hoping to find someone better, and that's very subjective obviously, but you're never gonna stop and take the time to get to know someone, and you got to remember, nobody's perfect, and you're not perfect either, and just try to open up. Be cautious as well, but as you said, there are some risks out here. But yeah, take your time, get to know the person you're interested in. Speaking of foreign guys coming here, I think a lot of guys here maybe try to act a certain way or look a certain way or believe that, you know, women want certain things. I think just be yourself and you'll find somebody that likes you the way you are.
Very, very mature tips from you, Alex. Thank you for that. Now let's talk about pros and cons. Yeah, everybody who comes on this show, I like to ask them for pros and cons, and I find it very interesting because some people say the same things and I find it hilarious, but every once in a while someone says something completely left field, and that's also very interesting too. So let's talk about that a little bit. How does that sound?
Yep, sounds good.
Tell me your first pro of living in Medellin.
One big one, I think, is that for me, Medellin was a perfect sized city. The city is big enough that you have access to anything you need, really. There's lots of restaurants, places to go out, cultural life, sports. I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. And at the same time, it's not huge, so huge that you can't take advantage of the whole setting. Like Bogota, I think for me is a little too big because it takes too much time. It's a little too difficult to get around. So even though there's a lot of really interesting stuff to do there, I lived there for a bit as well. And you know that there's this cool show or concert on the other side of the city and it's already late and it's going to take 2 hours to get there. You end up not doing it. Whereas in Medellin, everything's still pretty easy to get to.
That's the first time anyone's actually mentioned that in Medellin. That's a perfect size city. And I think that's really important. So good one there, Alex. What about your next pro?
Yeah, well, the weather. I know that one's like a classic. I don't want to move the camera right now because I'm going to mess up the setup. But
explain it to us.
I see a bright blue sky with a few small clouds just to show that the sky is real. And a view that is really amazing because Medellin's a bowl, so you can really appreciate the size and the different layers, and it's super green. Right now it feels hot for here, but it's still definitely not as hot as a lot of other places in Colombia. I don't use AC or even rarely use the fan at all. It's also never cold, even though people here feel cold. My girlfriend's cold all the time. When it gets to under like 20 Celsius, she's freezing cold.
All right, so weather is the second one. Everyone basically says that. And what's the third one you had?
Yeah, I really like the sports facilities. So if you're an active person, or even if you just like to watch people be active and play sports, Medellin has outdoor gyms everywhere. I live obviously right in front of the stadium, so I get to see the stadium, but it's not just a soccer stadium. It's all the coliseums for different sports, more than 10 swimming pools right in front here, and it's free, and it's like 3 minutes away by foot.
So pros, perfect size city, great weather, and really active culture, which you, being an active person, really enjoy as well. Now let's talk about cons, because that's very important as well. Let's not just talk about the good stuff. Let's talk about everything. So let's get into it with number one con of living in Medellin, Colombia.
This first con is a lot of people's pro, but yeah, I'm going to be different. People always rave about the Paisa culture.
If you guys don't know what Paisa is, it's the name for the people of this region. People from Medellin are called Paisas.
Yeah, because they're very friendly and spontaneous and outgoing, which is true. And I'm not here to say that it's not. However, I'm from a culture that has a kind of a different communication style, much more direct, which we perceive as much more honest. And so it can be a little difficult when you need to, make decisions with people or negotiate or just understand each other. There definitely is a cultural difference for me, and it can be a little frustrating sometimes. You think you understand what people want, but they're not really saying what they think, and then you make decisions accordingly. And so that would be a con for me.
That's a pretty big one, but when you come here and integrate into a different culture, I guess it's up to us to kind of accept that and figure it out. What's the next big con you had, Alex?
Well, Medellin attracts a certain type of tourism. It's not obviously not all tourists are like that, but there's definitely a lot of, I call it neo-colonialist tourism. People who come in with more purchasing power and feel like they're kind of above the law, the culture, and they can take advantage really in whatever way they want. And what a lot of this profile looks for usually is drugs and sex tourism, and it's what really hurts the city. People who come in and want to do here or feel that they're entitled to do here what they wouldn't or could or can't do where they come from. I think that's just not the right type of tourism, and you unfortunately see a lot of people with that attitude and those activities here.
Do you see that growing since you've been here?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think a lot of, wealthier families that live, for example, near Parquelleras are moving away from it because it's gotten out of hand. I imagine you agree with me, but, you walk around there and it's a little creepy. It violates a lot of things that should never be violated, like just respecting children, for example.
So yeah, that's a huge one, to be honest with you. But that being said, your final con.
If you're used to calm environments, it's harder to find here. And of course, there are areas, and you could go, a little further away or in a closed complex. But if you want to be, in a lively part of the city, commercial activity and things to do, it'll be louder than your average city in North America and in Europe, and it's growing, so there's a lot of construction. Obviously you hear that.
All right, mate, we've done pros and cons. Can you just give us some advice, actually, for anyone watching this who wants to maybe take the same steps as you, move out here and build a life in Medellin in Colombia?
Get your information, for example, from your blog, your YouTube channel. Get informed, but also don't only stick with what you hear. Come test it out, experience the place you're interested in, and understand that nothing's going to be perfect. The pros are going to be easy to see, and there's always an emotional curve. So at the beginning everything's super exciting, and then you get to see reality of things. It might be a little more difficult, and then it stabilizes and you decide maybe it is for you, maybe it's not.
Awesome. And let's just wrap up. Give us a quick summary of your apartment, which is for sale right now.
Yeah, so my apartment is right in front of the stadium and the sports complex. 3-bedroom 4-bathroom apartment with a big open space in the middle, windows on 3 of the 4 sides. It's only 1 apartment per floor. It was fully remodeled by me with an architect. I even have a soundproof window here in the master bedroom.
One of the best views I've seen from any apartment in all of Medellin. Thank you, Alex. Guys, if you want to check out Alex's apartment, get some more information on it, fill out the form in the description, and we'll send that to you. Thanks, Alex.